Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Jasmine Rojas discusses the wrongful accusations of Child Protective Services. Should be an interesting show, but before we get to Ms. Rojas, Ms. Phillips.
Hi, everybody. I have announcements to make. This show is being sponsored by Semper Fi Heating and Cooling.
Hoorah!
Yes, they are a veteran-owned business. We've had them here and interviewed them. They are great. If you are having, now that it's getting warm, it was so hot today, your system may need to be checked. Give them a call. Call semperfi.com. Jump on their website. And it's Semper Fi Heating and Cooling. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Also, if you would like to advertise, if you have a business, if you are a candidate or you have a nonprofit and you want to advertise with us on our show, we're getting upwards of 10,000 views a month. Now, give us a call, get in touch with us. Also, make sure to grab your copy of How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. Steve wrote this book. It's a self-help book. All of you guys out there that are going through family court and you can't afford an attorney and don't have one, this book will help you get through that court system. You can get it on Amazon. It is $14.99. And also we have a merch store. Check out our merch. It's VIPImerch.com. VIPImerch.com. We have all kinds of products on there, lots of fun stuff. So check that out. Also, we just launched our consulting website, VIPIconsulting.com. So check that out as well. And, you know, we were down at family court. Well, it was the RJC, but we were in, because some people don't know that there are family court judges that are actually at the RJC. They're not all over at the family court building. But anyway, we were in Judge Ritchie's courtroom today, and his marshal was great. And there were a couple of cases that we watched and then chatted with him after. So we were glad that he gave us some time. But there is this one case in particular, and just in general, I've heard this from a lot of people, that there are those who get away with not ever paying child support. They are not held accountable. They are not held in contempt. They are not arrested. Their wages are not garnished. I mean, it goes on down the line. And when you are an attorney and you owe child support, you have to sign. When you re-up your license, you have to sign, do you owe child support? Same with, I'm a real estate broker. Same thing with us. You have to answer, do you owe child support when you renew your license? So I just think there needs to be accountability, because Richie has this one case in particular where the one party is an attorney and he has not paid child support. What is it, 6.5 years now it's going on?
He owes over $500,000.
Over $500,000. Hasn't paid. There is an order for him to pay, and Richie has not enforced this order by any means. And I think that this attorney is his buddy. What I've been told. But anyway, family court judges, if you have an order out there for a litigant to pay child support, enforce it, please, because the other side is being hurt by not having that child support, and especially allowing these people to go on for years and not paying without any accountability. Why have the order? Your orders mean nothing if you do not enforce them. So anyway, that's my rant.
Man, that's a lot.
Sorry, that was really long.
Ms. Rojas, how you doing today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Tell us about yourself.
So, as in, like, my story and...
No, your background, where you're from, where you grew up.
Oh, okay.
Who's your favorite cartoon character?
So my name is Jasmine Rojas. I am born and raised in Las Vegas.
Born and raised?
Native.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Vegas native. Funny background, but I get to tell my children that I met my husband in prison, because both of us are correctional officers. So that's like...
Literally you did.
Literally, for good reason, not bad reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a correctional officer?
Yes. Yes.
What prison do you guys work at?
We work for the state prisons. So
Okay.
currently I'm at the women's facility, and
Okay.
he's up in Indian Springs.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you carry?
What do we carry?
Yeah. What do you carry?
I mean,
Glock.
yeah, Glock. Glock 19.
It's a good
yeah,
weapon.
but only out in public, but not on the yard. Yeah.
She's not like those judges that don't carry it.
Yeah. So locked and loaded. Yeah. So, and I have a 3-year-old daughter and a now 6-month-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. So what's going on with Child Protective Services? What's going on with all that? Tell us your story.
Yeah, so my 6-month-old, she was born October 4th of last year. December 5th, December 3rd, we noticed that our baby was really like particularly irritable. And it wasn't unusual for her to be like irritable and crying throughout the night, because there's nights where she would be up all night and she would be gassy, and we figured that's what it was. But December 3rd, the night of December 3rd, she was particularly really gassy, or really irritable, I'm sorry. And we thought it was gas maybe. And the next morning, that Wednesday morning, December 4th, we tried to feed her.
And colicky or anything?
Well, we thought she was colicky, but we gave her like gripe water. We gave her gas drops through the night and tried that. The morning of December 4th, we tried to feed her. She started throwing up. So we went and gave her a bath. We waited a little bit, tried to feed her again, threw up. And then so at some point we were like, okay, maybe it's the formula that she has. Maybe she has some intolerance. We went and got her new formula, like a sensitive brand. She threw that up. So we were like, there's definitely something wrong. Like she's not eating. She's very irritable. We took her to an urgent care, Over the Rainbow Urgent Care in Henderson off Eastern. And they, examined her and said, nothing's wrong with her. She's just colicky. And from that point, me as a mother, I'm like, no, like there's something else wrong. She's not colicky. We know what colic is. There's something else going on. And basically that nurse practitioner just gave us like a Google printout sheet of what colic is. Well, through that Wednesday night, she just kept getting worse and worse. She was becoming more lethargic. She was like kind of staring off into the distance, like she didn't want to eat. And that next morning of December 5th, we took her to the emergency room. And when we took her in, they said that she was actively seizing.
Which emergency room did you go to?
Sunrise.
Okay.
And from that point, we're like, what's going on? Like, what's going on with our baby? And, like she was examined they did x-rays on her. They did all this stuff. And, nothing, x-rays came back clear. Everything came back clear. They told us that she was having lack of oxygen to her brain. And she was having these strokes. And then they found hemorrhaging in her brain.
Oh, wow.
So from that point, and the neurosurgeon that came on the case in the emergency room, because there's trauma doctors there, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, what do you mean? Why is there trauma here? Like, what's going on? And the neurosurgeon, Dr. Bragg, who is allegedly the only pediatric neurosurgeon in town, in the state, she came in and said, this isn't trauma. This is, I believe, my opinion is that because she was so lethargic and so dehydrated, that caused a lack of oxygen, which led to one thing, led to the other, led to the other. So, and then of course, they take her for an MRI, and then we go up to the PICU and we're waiting for her because they tell us, she's going to get admitted, that, she's going to probably be on a ventilator until we can get the seizures under control. So they took her for an MRI, and then we are being bombarded in the room with Henderson detectives with CPS and being interviewed. And, we told them what happened. Like, hey, we noticed the symptoms. We took her to an urgent care. This is what we were told. She kept getting worse, and we ended up here.
So the doctors there had called.
Yeah, and made a report.
Because they think that somehow it was due to your negligence or you guys doing something. So by law, are they required to call in?
Well, I believe that they are mandated reporters. Well, I mean, yeah, but I think it was because she had brain hemorrhaging that they were they had that suspicion of non-accidental trauma. Because later on, so after they did the MRI, and the MRI took probably a few hours because we were up in after we interviewed, we were bombarded. We had to do our interviews. And even the Henderson detective, because we're in law enforcement. So of course, like we had to report to our work that we're having interaction with law enforcement. And it's like a whole big thing. And we're in the dark we don't even know what's going on. But the detective, stood there and told us, hey, this sounds like it's a medical thing. I have no reason to believe that there's any foul play. I'm going to go ahead and close the case. So from that point, we're like, okay, cool. Like no foul play happened anyways. Like we're just here trying to figure out what's going on. And then they come up with a doctor comes up with the MRI results to us. And like, that literally is like the worst moment. She came up and she basically brought us the results. And she was like, look, your baby's very ill. We don't know if she's going to wake up from this point. We don't know if she's going to wake up. We don't know how she's going to be, when she wakes up. So at that point, I'm like, what, I went off. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what is going on? So we're under the impression. So, the baby comes back up to the room. She's on a ventilator. She's all hooked up. They have her on EEG, like monitoring her seizures. Like she just all cords all hooked up. And we were in the hospital for almost a month in December.
Oh,
but,
wow.
Some time went by and we're being told, like every doctor that came in the room was telling us something different.
How old is she again?
She was exactly 2 months old. Yeah. So every physician that came in was telling us, oh yeah, it could have been caused from this. So this could have caused it. And this. So we're just, and then coming in and telling us, oh, she's making progress. She can come off the ventilator soon. So we're sitting there, hopeful, like, okay, she's making progress. Like everything's good. Well, they came and did an eye exam on her and saw that she had retinal hemorrhages. And we're like, how is her eyes bleeding? Like, what is going on? And then we're completely blindsided. And then the CPS comes back in the room and serves us with a safety order for our 3-year-old.
Who calls CPS? The hospital?
The hospital. Because now the neurosurgeon who originally had an opinion and specifically said, I have a low suspicion of trauma, this is not trauma, now changed her opinion because now there's retinal hemorrhages. So
what did they think you did?
That we shook her. Shook her. Even though on every, that all over the reports, no fractures, no bruises, no midline shift,
What about the neck?
Nothing on her neck. Nothing. No bleeding in the back of her head. Nothing that screamed that we shook her.
Was the seizures causing the hemorrhage in the brain?
That's what they originally said. So, and then the eye exam after that, the complete 360, and they're like, nope, she was subject to non-accidental trauma. And then from that point forward until now, we're being accused of shaking her.
So do you have your child?
No. So at that point, our 3-year-old, who was, with my parents anyways, because my parents were keeping her as we were staying in the hospital.
Right.
We were served with a safety order or safety plan. And basically, because we've never dealt with we'd never, imagined that we'd be dealing with CPS. They basically came in and, threatened us and said, if you don't sign this, your 3-year-old's going to go to foster care. Going to go to.
Did you get an attorney?
Well, we now have an attorney, but it's like at that moment, like we're being threatened and.
You signed it before you got an attorney?
Mm-hmm.
Is your 3-year-old with your parents?
She was. So that's what that was if you don't sign this, I'm taking your 3-year-old to Safe Haven and all this. And we were, we had a court date. Yeah.
A second. When they threaten you like that, why didn't you get an attorney?
Well, at that point, we were like we just felt like we were backed into a corner. We didn't know what to do. We've never been in a situation like this.
Okay, what did they have you sign?
The safety plan.
What does that consist of?
She explained it. I tried to read it, but we never got a copy of it.
You are law enforcement. Are you kidding me?
I know.
What you mean you didn't get a copy? You tried.
Never got a copy.
How long is it in force? Is it a 6-month?
There was no time.
Or is it indefinite? Do you have a copy of it now?
No.
Your attorney hasn't gotten a copy of it now from CPS?
Mm-mm.
Who's your CPS caseworker?
Right now, it is Carrie Allen Singleton.
Who was it then?
Permanency. It was Maxine Doggett.
So your 3-year-old is in foster care?
So no, not at the moment. But so our 3-year-old was placed with my parents, and they said that when the baby's discharged, baby's going to get placed with my parents. Then we're going to go to court. So then we ended up going to court with their discovery report or whatever it was, and of all these saying that, oh, my baby, her name's Graylin, saying that Graylin suffered life-threatening injuries in our care and all of that. So our
2-month-old.
Oh yeah.
So why didn't they leave your 3-year-old with your parents?
They did.
They did.
Yeah, that was a safety plan was for my parents.
And the 3-year-old's with your parent now?
No, because another incident happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
did your 2-month-old get out of the hospital?
December 21st
Okay.
was when she was released from the hospital.
And had the bleeding stopped
Yes, the bleeding
everywhere?
Not everywhere, but it was like drying up or going away. It wasn't getting more.
And she stopped seizing.
Mhm.
And was she eating?
Yeah.
And
so
she was
eating fine. She was, because even throughout the hospital, they were like, we don't know how she's going to wake up. And then saying that she's going to be so developmentally delayed and all of this. She woke up literally the same baby. Literally no problems.
I'm confused over here.
Yeah. You're still confused.
Yeah. So your 2-month-old is out of the hospital and she was with your parents.
Yes.
And your 3-year-old was with your parents.
Yes.
Same father.
Yes.
Okay. So both children are with your parents.
Not anymore.
But before that,
Yeah.
both children are with your
Yes.
parents. So what happened? What do you mean not anymore?
Yeah, so they were placed with my parents as we are trying to get medical answers, trying to, whatever. So February 20th, she ended up back in the hospital. The baby did for the same thing, for an unexplained brain hemorrhage.
So now they're accusing your parents of doing this.
They're accusing, because my parents were supposed to supervise us for visits, so now they're still accusing us, saying that my parents didn't supervise us well enough, or that what the detective said was parents, grandma and grandpa were trying to finish the job for you. Or grandma and grandpa didn't supervise you well enough and you just tried to finish what you started.
Told you they were trying to finish the job?
And I literally was like, how dare you? So yeah.
Wait. This was Henderson PD?
This was now Metro. So Henderson PD was the first one, and then this was now Metro.
So do your folks live in Henderson or in
Spring Valley?
Clark?
They live in.
Okay, so they're Clark County. All right, so Metro came in. And who was the officer at Metro that said that?
They never gave a card, never introduced themselves.
Why didn't you get... But
do you have body cam footage? Did you ask for the body cam?
Well, I have their names on the reports from the hospital, but the Henderson detective came in very professional. He gave us his card, and nope, Metro came in like they own the place, and we got bombarded by like 10 officers in Metro when it was only one detective the first time.
To your parents' house?
Yeah, well, CSI came to my parents' house too and took all these pictures. But when we
CSI?
Yeah. They literally had CSI, and the second...
Explain what CSI is to our audience.
Crime scene investigator.
And what crime took place?
No crime took place. So again, baby was admitted, no bruises, no fractures, nothing.
Baby, she went back end of February, you said? February 28th?
February 20th, she was admitted to the hospital again, yes.
Was she seizing again?
Well, we don't know because she's been on seizure medication since December.
Oh. Okay.
So the pediatrician is the one that actually sent us to, because me and dad went to the pediatrician with my mom because it started off with her not eating for a couple of days. She was still, perfectly fine. She just wasn't eating as much. So that concerned us of she's going to get dehydrated. This is what started it all the first time. And so when we went to the pediatrician said, she looks fine, but based on her history, she might be having those internal seizures that we don't know. Still to this day, we don't know if she's having those internal seizures because the blood in the brain from this incident, from the February incident, was way more than the first incident. So literally the MRI this time around, it literally looks like a slice in her brain that it was just all blood, just old blood and new blood. So you would never even know.
So it may never have completely
healed.
Stopped.
Yeah.
And then the retinal that she was...
No retinal this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jasmine, how old are you?
I'm 26.
How long you been in law enforcement?
6 years.
How long has your husband been in law enforcement?
7 years. And
you guys allowed this CPS to force you to sign a documentation without you have any time to read it and threaten you at the same time?
Like I said, it was in the moment of we were completely blindsided. We didn't know. We'd never been in. We weren't even processing what was going on from the whole thing. We weren't even. We were just. We just felt like we were in a corner.
Has the DA charged you with anything?
We have not been charged with anything.
Have you been arrested?
No.
And then they come and take your child away from your parents, and then tell you that you're there to finish the job.
Mm-hmm. So that night,
and you didn't get their card.
What does your attorney say? Who's your attorney now?
My attorney now is Jason Weiner.
Does he know you're talking on the show?
No. But at first we had court-appointed attorneys and they weren't doing anything for us. So we just felt like we were getting further ourselves than these court-appointed attorneys. And so then I had to go out and hire our own attorneys.
Why didn't you tell your attorney you're coming on the show?
It just never came up. I don't know.
Is there a lawsuit pending?
No.
There's no legal case. There's no nothing pending.
Like legal case as in like a legal...
Any from their side to, or you suing them or them suing, nothing
There's
in
no
court
lawsuit,
pending?
no.
Okay.
No.
Or where's your children now?
Foster home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You took
so
them
that
from your
2
parents.
months old and your 3-year-old.
Well, now 6 month old.
6 months.
Yes. Yeah.
And your 3.5-year-old now, right?
Yeah.
In foster care?
Yeah.
Are they putting them together?
Yes. But
How do you know that?
I mean, we FaceTime. So
Do you know the family that has them?
Yes.
And they have them both when you FaceTime them. Mm-hmm. Where's the family live? They don't tell you. Mm-mm. Or have you met them? Mm-hmm. Are they nice?
Well, when we were in the hospital the second time with Graylin,
I lose my mind.
when we were bombarded by CSI and everything, when CSI went to my parents' house, they took my 3-year-old and this was middle of the night, took her out of her sleep and took her to Safe Haven at that point.
They just walked into your house without a search warrant? I mean, your parents'
And then that's
house?
what I told my parents. I said, they don't have a warrant. There's literally, my 3-year-old is not in any physical danger right now. They had no grounds to take her
Did
in
they
that
have
moment.
A document signed by a judge?
No, this literally happened in the middle. I was at the hospital when this happened. So I found out after the fact that my 3-year-old was taken.
Okay, so where are you going from here?
From here, it's just there. So the 6 month, now 6 month old now was a high risk pregnancy for a genetic disorder called Turner syndrome.
Maybe that's probably what contributed to this.
Yes, and it's not meaning anything because from CPS they just say Jasmine's just shoving Turner syndrome down our throat and all of it. Like nobody's taken into consideration. She was a high risk pregnancy for a reason. There was obviously something that made her high risk. The neurologist has even said, yeah, Turner syndrome could cause a bleeding in the brain. I've seen kids with this, but even that's not enough. And then now something happens again out of our custody, yet we're still being accused of doing something to her again.
Has your OBGYN talked to them about this genetic disorder and your pregnancy and all that you went through?
Well, I have reached out to my OB a couple times because in the beginning they were trying to insinuate that, I had postpartum depression and I just lost it. And so I've reached out to my OB and I've told her everything that's happening. And she was like, you do not have postpartum. You didn't have postpartum. You were just seen for this days before your baby was hospitalized the first time. And I explained the situation to her and I just saw her recently a couple days ago too to see like, hey, can you give me something or lead me in the right direction of what specialists to reach out to? And she basically said that anything past birth, she can't really say or give an opinion on, because from birth, so it was a high-risk pregnancy from a screening test, like the same screening test that they test for Down syndrome.
Does CPS know about the high-risk pregnancy?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean anything.
Were there any history of child abuse with your first child?
No.
No history.
Literally no history. Clean record, no history of nothing.
Does your husband know you're coming on the show?
Mm-hmm.
How come he didn't come with you?
I thought it was only one guest.
I
So,
wish you would have called me. I would have put him over there.
oh yeah, I mean, he would have. Yeah.
Okay.
Since when does CPS walk into a home? Do they have that kind of jurisdiction? I need to research this.
No, they have to have a court order
A court order,
signed by a judge.
right? You can't just walk into, so
No.
your folks let them into the home at 3 a.m.?
Mm-hmm. And let them take off with my 3-year-old.
And what, tell me again, that case worker that came in and
the
took your
caseworker
child?
that came in
And
that
took your child.
It was Christina Quinlan.
Christina Quinlan. Spell that name for me. Q-U?
Kristina Quinlan.
Quinlan. Okay.
Quinlan.
Did you file anything with the head of the Department of Family Services?
No, I know my dad had made a complaint to the ombudsman in regard to our permanency worker because there was no communication. And now we're in a position to where I feel like that's completely retaliating because our permanency worker, like your goal is to reunify us with our children, and you are not talking to us, and you're doing everything but to reunify us. Like you're insinuating that we've hurt our baby over and over.
Did they talk to your supervisor at your job to ask if there was any violence with the inmates or anything like that?
They have not, but we have, our lieutenant would come and visit us in the hospital. Like we are very good friends. Like some of the people we work with, we consider family. So they've given us, character statements and all of this.
And that didn't help.
Doesn't do anything. Mm-mm.
So is there a court date to get your children back?
We have court again on the 23rd at 10 a.m.
Where's that going to be
at the juvenile court.
In family court?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's the judge, do you know?
David Gibson Jr.
Junior.
Yep. I've been told he's the best one that we could get, but
Is it a sealed case?
Yeah, his dad was a judge, Justice of Peace in Henderson.
Mm.
His uncle is county commissioner.
Okay. Yeah. But Gibson's, I don't know if it's a sealed case. I mean, there's people that we've had support coming in every court date. So I'm guessing that it's open.
23rd at 10?
Yeah. But Gibson's stance right now is he wants to see certified medical records. So we went back to court. Our first court from the last hospital.
Before Gibson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So our first court from the last hospitalization was on March 5th. And at that point, Gibson was like, I'm open to, obviously there could be something medically going wrong. And, the DA is trying to shove like, no. They've determined that nothing's been determined. On all the hospital records, it says concerning for NAT, but also metabolic, genetic, organic disorders. No determination has been made. And so Gibson's standpoint, on March 5th, he was like, okay, I want to see certified medical records. Give me certified records. I'll make my decision then. So we go back to court. We went back on the 26th of last month. Still doesn't have the certified records.
CPS has a history of taking children away and put them in foster care and then eventually adopting them off. Mm-hmm. A history of that. Been going on for years and years and years and years. Mm-hmm. Never sign anything without reading it.
Yeah, I know that now. Everything that I know now. Because
always get their business cards, know who you're talking to. Your parents should not have let them come in the house without a warrant that's signed by a judge, not an electronic thing, signed by a judge. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that happen that I'm listening that I would have just told them to go F off.
Yeah.
But you need to submit your own medical records, right? Mm-hmm. Because if they have their side of what happened medically, you need to have your doctors submit, right? Are you guys doing that? Giving that to Gibbs? Okay.
Yeah, so I've submitted everything to my attorney already. But yeah, so we went back on the 26th of last month and the DA still has not got the certified records. Mm-hmm. So now we have the status check coming up on the 23rd, but it's like, it's been almost 2 months. Why are the certified records not in front of him?
Yeah. This is your baby. This is an infant.
Who's now 6 months old, who I've now lost.
You've lost all that time.
Mm-hmm.
Were you breastfeeding?
I was.
Man.
Yeah. And it's a pain that I don't wish on any mother. I mean, having a high risk pregnancy and being told that, hey, you have a high risk pregnancy for this genetic disorder, your baby has a 3 to 5% chance of making a live birth. and then your baby makes a live birth, and it's like a miracle, and then baby ripped from your arms at 2 months old, and then being accused of hurting your baby.
So you're a correction officer currently today. What type of mindset do you? I mean, because being a correction officer is stressful all by itself. I mean, you're dealing with adult kids. So
Yeah.
what kind of mindset do you go into when you walk into that prison with your family?
I mean,
torn apart
it's definitely
back there?
triggering. It's definitely because, you know, you're surrounded by actual child abusers every day, and it's definitely a trigger. But it's, I mean, you got to go to, I mean, my husband, he works a lot of overtime too, and I feel like that's kind of just his way of coping but I'm sure it's triggering to him too, because he's like, you know, like he's surrounded by male inmates, and like a lot of them are child abusers, a lot of them are, and if somebody mentions a daughter, like it's definitely triggering, but it's
2 daughters you have, right?
Are they collecting money from you for support for the kids?
What prison are you?
I'm at Florence McClure.
So
Currently.
women's prison?
Yeah.
It's low minimum security prison.
Well, it's the only women's prison in Nevada, so we're all custody.
So it's
Yeah.
from bouncing a check to killing somebody. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Everything in between.
And your husband?
He's at Southern Desert right now.
Southern Desert. Is that a minimum security?
It's a medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not that bad, but maximum security would be enough.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, we've been in and out. We moved to Nebraska for a couple of years and did the same thing. So we've worked every level of custody. But yeah, it's definitely, as much as I want to break down every day, it's just like, I have to stay strong and just go through the motions.
What does your lawyer say?
As of right now, we're just at a standstill because we're waiting for the certified records.
Have you spoken to a civil rights attorney? Maybe you should.
Yeah, and everyone says that, like, oh, you're going to have such a big lawsuit at the end of this, but it's like right now, no amount of money could take away. True. Like, you took my baby away.
But you should start the process.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't buy the time that you've lost, but at least you can comfort them when you do have them with some monetary. You should find a civil rights attorney and start the process.
Yeah.
And also a formal written complaint against the CPS worker for coming into your home and taking a child with no paperwork. Yeah. I mean, that is horrific.
Well, I would add them to the lawsuit.
All of them. All of them.
Well, Ms. Rojas, I'm so sorry that you and your family have to go through this. It's very devastating.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do being in your situation, but I know what I would do knowing me. It wouldn't be nice.
Yeah. Oh, I've already gotten complaints from the caseworker, like, oh, Jasmine's very aggressive. Jasmine's very, and I'm like, you took my baby away from me. Of course, I'm going to be all over. Of course. Like, I yelled at the hospital staff because we were told to leave the hospital so the baby could be taken to a foster home. And I'm like, how are you medically clearing this child to leave when she actively has blood in her brain and you guys don't know what's wrong with her? God forbid she dies in this foster home. Then what?
That's a bigger lawsuit.
Yeah.
Ms. Phillips. Look at her.
So, well,
it's dumbfounding. It's like,
I'm a mom.
Yeah.
My kids now are 20 and 23. So I just, I remember when my kids were born, and I can't even imagine what you're going through. And they can call you aggressive, but there is no love like a mother's love. You just gave birth to this child, and they can come in and take your kid and accuse you of this kind of stuff. I personally am going to be following up on this, and I'm going to research the CPS thing. And for those of you out there at the CPS, remember my name, Stephanie Phillips. I will be contacting your office. I'm going to do research on this. This is absolutely disgusting when you have no proof, no evidence, and you take a child, walk into someone's house at 3 a.m. and take a child. You do not have paperwork. I don't know what the laws are, the rules are with this, but I am going to find out. And we're going to be contacting people. Have you contacted any elected officials, congressmen, mayors, anyone, anybody?
No, I mean, I've just been trying to contact experts to get opinions and specialists, and been looking outside of state of all, like my main goal has just been trying to find answers.
Do they have are they taking the children to doctors, especially your baby, to get follow-up on how she's doing?
Yeah, so every time we go to court, because it's brought up every time, and Gibson makes it very, very clear every time we go that our parental rights have not been taken away. So I have scheduled all of these follow-up appointments, doctor's appointments, the neurologist, neurosurgeon. We went with a new neurosurgeon, Dr. Blunt, because this Dr. Bragg tells us one thing verbally in the hospital and tells them. So this last hospitalization, she told us that because there's extra space and extra fluid surrounding her brain and her skull, that's what caused the second bleed. That the fluid got into the crevice, like that's what caused the second bleed. But then it's telling CPS, because that was a DA's argument, oh, Dr. Bragg is saying that this time is non-accidental trauma. But you're verbally telling us something different in the hospital.
And they won't get a second opinion.
So yeah, we've reached out to another neurosurgeon. I've scheduled all these appointments, but now I'm being told because I've been at every single appointment thus far, and Dad has, when Dad can make them, he's there at every appointment. And it's gotten to the point where I call these offices, like specifically Dr. Bragg's office, say like, hey, when is her follow-up appointment? And I'm being told, oh, you have no authorization to call. You have no authorization to the records. Contact your caseworker.
Well,
do you have an order from the judge that tells that doctor, look, their parental rights have not been taken. You must give her information? Do you have a court order?
I don't have a court order in hand, but the attorney has definitely reached out to the DA. Then it's created a whole thing to where some of these doctors have allowed me to get records, but specifically Dr. Bragg's office will not let me. Intermountain Health will not let me near.
CPS cannot come into your home without a judge's order. They need 24, 72 hours to have an emergency hearing. Mm-hmm. At that time, they have to prove that you caused the injury. Mm-hmm. They have to have evidence. Other than that, they can't walk into your home and take your child. Okay? And if they try to, you could tell them go F themselves, and they have to turn around and leave. Mm-hmm. And if the cops get involved, you just say this is a civil matter. And cops have to get up and leave as well. So what they did to you was illegal.
Why hasn't the DA stepped in knowing that CPS did this? How come the DA's office
she has to file a complaint?
Has not.
Have you done a police report against CPS?
No, not
Maybe you probably want to do one.
Yeah.
And file a formal complaint, and with the DA's office against that CPS worker specifically and their office. All of them. Oh,
I probably would do what Sigal Chattah says to do. When she was talking about our Attorney General.
What was that?
Hanging by a crane. Well, Jasmine Rojas, I'm so sorry again that your family and yourself have to go through this, and your kids are now in with strangers. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you want to say that we didn't cover?
I mean, it's just amazing how, never thought that have done everything to, be the best parent. Never thought I'd find myself in this situation. And, but it's amazing how many stories are so similar just throughout the nation. There's people that I've connected to from all over that have similar stories. And you would think so many people are coming out, so many people are getting lawsuits, so many people are doing all this stuff that they would change the persona of when you bring your kid to a hospital and there's bruises or brain bleed or something, they don't automatically, no, this is trauma. Mm-hmm. Rule everything out, do tests before you start tearing families apart and making unnecessary all of this.
Ms. Phillips, do you have anything else? Ms. Rojas?
So much, but.
Well, Ms. Rojas, Mark is going to zoom in on you, and you could talk to whoever you want to.
Okay.
And you could do a point of contact if you want, if you don't have to. But that's your option. Okay.
My name is Jasmine Rojas, and I hope that coming out and telling my story will shed a light and provide resources. And I don't just speak for myself and my own family. I speak for all families that are going through the same situation, a similar situation, that, CPS, these abusing or accusing physicians, these hospitals, everyone needs to be held accountable. And this just can't keep happening to innocent families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show, Ms. Rojas.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Phillips, thank you. Folks, that's Jasmine Rojas was discussing the wrongful accusation by Child Protective Services. Folks, we hope that this show is informative to you because what happened to her, we do these programs to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. So please take notes, and whatever we say on this program, please check it out, do your research, and know your rights, because if you don't know your rights, you'll end up in that same situation. And please do not sign something without reading it first, and don't let anybody force you to sign anything, especially when it comes to your children. Don't force anybody to bombard you, throw you up against a wall and say, sign this or else. Don't, because that's a threat, and you have your legal rights. This is Steve Sanderson, Stephanie Phillips with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.